Good day and welcome to this first segment, and this week it's a Monday segment of A Week at the Plot, and it's Bank Holiday Monday in the UK, so it's our final bank holiday before Christmas, so before Boxing Day and then New Year's Day, which of course is a new year. And yeah, so there's that long drag up to Christmas, sort of coming up with no bank holidays to give us a bit of respite. I was coming down here this afternoon just to do a few jobs, and I wasn't going to get the camera out, but I've decided that I'm going to put in the Swede. So these are the Swede that we sowed in modules, just a single seed sown in a module. I can't remember the date. I'll put it below if I can find it. I think they've been growing on for about 6 weeks, something like that. And I left them unwatered for 2 days because I find with modules, you need to make sure that the compost inside isn't too wet, too moist, because sometimes if the root system isn't really good, it can sort of fall apart. And with these Swede, I've never grown them from modular sown before. I don't know whether they'll work, and I wanted to disturb their root as little as possible. So so that's what I decided to do. So the modules of compost are slightly on the dry side at the moment, not too dry, there's still moisture in them, but they're sort of drier than I would normally keep them. And that was because I wasn't sure how the root system was in each of the modules, and of course until we take each module out we don't know how the root system is in each of those modules. But I have taken one out here, and I think you can see that the root system is pretty good. But I think if the compost, if this was damper than it is at the moment, there might be a propensity for it to break up, which I really didn't want to do. So we know where these are going. We prepared the bed last week, so we weeded it. We took out the turnips that hadn't done well, and then I put chicken manure pellets down. I put comfrey feed down. I gave it a really good water. So it's had a couple of days like that now. So time to get these in, and I'm just going to do what I normally do when planting out plants. I'm making a hole with my either my trowel or my hand fork. I think it will likely be my hand fork in this case, and then really firming the module into that hole. So putting the module into the hole and then firming the compost, or the soil in this case, around it. So first thing to do is to place all of these out. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. That's those 14 Swede in. How they'll do, I have no idea. I haven't looked up and seen how other people have modular sown Swede before. I'm just giving it a go and we'll see what happens. After planting up, they had a really good water, and then after about another 15 minutes they had another really good water. And I'm just going to potter about now and do some deadheading and a bit of tomato cares, and then before I go back home I'm going to give them another good water. Having left them not watered so that they were sort of going towards dry in the modules, I want to make sure I give them a really good soaking today. So yeah, we're 2/3 of the way through that and one more watering can to do. And what I'm also going to do is I've got a bit of fleece in my netting, not fleece, a bit of netting in my hand, and I'm going to cover these over loosely just to try and keep any pigeons who might think yum yum off them, because we don't want these pecked. Well, you don't really want any brassicas pecked, but you know, we've got to live with wildlife, so sometimes you've got to let your wildlife peck some of your stuff, but hopefully not all of your stuff, and certainly not when it's this young and just being planted up. Right, I'm going to net it. Job done. It's been a real hour or so of sunshine and grey skies. I think the sunshine is going now and the grey skies are here, so I'm going to have a drink from my flask and then wend my way home. And hopefully when I come down tomorrow, the netting here, which is draped loosely over, will have ensured no pigeons have pecked. Oh, but I see in there, I see a bee, a honey bee. Better get that out before I go home. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. Brush has been at it again. Not sure if you can see that hole and the compost heaved up here. Seems to want to bury our lettuce. Oh, look, there's a little sunflower fallen off our sunflower. Oh, it's turning into a bit of a grim day today. Not sure. I mean, it's drizzling. It's drizzling, which is not a bad thing for the allotment, of course, and will do the squash a world of good. I do think that Brush takes the word bed a little too literally, and I'm sure it was Brush because I saw him as I was coming into the allotment. He was in the paddock area and I called out to him and he came over about 5 meters away from me, had a sniff and then trotted off. So yeah, Brush is definitely around. Where his sister is, Felicity, I don't know. Let's hope that she's still well and around somewhere. So I came down with a specific plan today. I wanted to tidy our benches because we've got a table just sort of at the side of the poly here, or just a few feet away. We've got the bench over there by where the carrot bed is, and we got the bench by the shed, and there's quite a lot of empty pots on there, or pots with plants that have not done well, mainly ones that I've been given actually. And there's also weeding to be done, because there's been so much grass that has gone to seed this year, not just on my plot but actually on the site as a whole, that of course those seeds land on the top of your pots, like the pots where we potted up oaks, and they germinate, so they need to be weeded. So that was what I was going to do today, but the weather has got different plans, so it's pretty miserable and drizzly. I had expected it to clear by this point. The weather forecast didn't say it was going to, but I thought it would, looking at the radar and how wrong I was. So yeah, and I'm starting to hoard cardboard. Any cardboard that I found, I've put into one of the sheds in the paddock, so that the people in the paddock can use it to put down on their new plots. But I'm now starting to hoard cardboard for myself. So I went around the shed to put the cardboard into one of these sheds here, the 1940s shed. And as I went back to my shed over there, I noticed the tomatoes on my neighbouring plot, and they have got blight. So one of the jobs I'm going to be doing this afternoon, and I won't do it on camera, because you've seen me do it before, but I'm going to be taking all of the leaves off the tomatoes that are directly next to next door's plot. There isn't any blight on our tomatoes at the moment, but with this damp weather, and it's still being the right temperature, above 10 degrees generally, that is the weather that blight loves in order to spread. So yeah, we've got quite a few green tomatoes on those tomato plants, and I'll just see how they are tomorrow and over the weekend. If I see blight begin to take hold on the stems of those tomato plants, then I will harvest all of the green tomatoes and we'll make them into green tomato curry. We're not going to get rid of them. But yeah, my heart did sink somewhat when I saw that, so I'm going to get on and do that. But because it's quite miserable out there, and because the camera will get wet, I won't show you what I'm doing. But all I'm doing basically is snipping with my secateurs all the leaves off those tomatoes. I'm going to leave the other tomato beds as they are for a while, for a day or so, and see how they go. Some of our tomatoes are beginning to colour up, but yeah, we still haven't had our second tomato of the year from the plot. I mean, it's so late, But anyway, because of this weather, I decided not to do the benches. So I decided to tidy the shed, that shed over there. And I started doing it, and I put something into a drawer. As I put it into the drawer, I noticed these 2 packets of seeds, rainbow chard and perpetual spinach. Now, I've been looking for these packets of seed in my seed box in the fridge, and I couldn't find them. So yeah, I hadn't taken them home the last time I sowed them, which is very, very bad of me. That's unusual for me. Anyway, I felt that there are seeds in there, and I know that there are seeds in there. So I looked in there, no seeds. It's the Marvel of 4 Seasons pack of seeds that I lost earlier in the year, and Northern Queen lettuce. So 2 lots of lettuce seed, but no chard, which is a shame, because I wanted to modular sow chard and the perpetual spinach, because in London we're just about okay to do that. However, I'm going to modular sow the spinach, and I think I might do a shout out here to see if anybody in our WhatsApp group has got any chard seeds, because I'd really like to get some in the next week. I'm not going to buy any. But if somebody's got some chard seed, then I think I will sow. Yeah, but I'm not going to buy any. And I looked at the carrot bed, and sadly that germination of the Lunar White and the Autumn King, which was old seed, is very, very hit and miss. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sow some perpetual spinach into that bed as well. So yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And this seed, I think this is packed in 2022. So yeah, I think the viability might be a bit lower than usual, particularly as it's been in a hot shed, certainly all of the summer. Anyway, I'm going to get on and do that. Modular sown spinach. Just showing you the seed. That's perpetual spinach, Beta vulgaris, and each of these clusters, there's a cluster there, are several seeds. So it's a multi-seeded seed, if you like. And Beta vulgaris, so beta, beetroot, same family as beetroot. So beetroot is very often the same. Most beetroot is. Some F1 isn't, but most beetroot is sort of multi-seeded. So from this one seed here, which is actually a cluster of seeds, we may get 2 or 3 plants. But all I'm going to do is sow them here into modules. So I'm just putting 2, not sure how viable this seed is, so I'm putting 2 clusters of seed in, or generally 2 clusters. If there's a bit more, I'm not going to worry about it. And then I'm just going to press them down about 1/2 centimetre, because we're going to put compost on top. I mean, they're pretty robust. If the seed's viable, they're pretty robust plants anyway. Topping up. And then pressing down to make sure that the seed is well in contact with the compost. And then, as you've seen me do before, smooth off the top. Right, let's see how viable that seed is. Of course, what I am going to do now is give it a good water. We've had a bit of a break in the drizzle, so I thought I'd show you the stripped back tomatoes. You can see we've got a couple ripening up, but most of the leaves, apart from maybe just a few at the top of each, have been taken off. I mean, to be fair, this bed sort of says autumn to me, and time to prep for the brassicas to go in, which is of course what we were saying either earlier in the week or last week. But yeah, you can see on this one, well, you can't because they've come off, but where leaves were they've been taken off, and only a few leaves right at the tip. But what I did notice when I came down here, which is the closest tomato to our neighbour, oh, let me see if I can unwind. Can you see in there the stalk? Can you see the stem has gone black, and that's not from rubbing, that's from the start of blight. So we got some decent tomatoes down there which are going to come home with me, and this whole plant is going to be hoiked out and go into compost. So yeah, fingers crossed that the others which we've got here don't succumb to blight. But you know, bad tomato year for us, but at least we've got some. I almost wish as if I had stayed at home this afternoon. But you know what, if I'd stayed at home, I wouldn't have been able to do that remedial work on the tomatoes of cutting off the leaves. One of our subscribers on Planet Vegetaria did say that a friend of hers says that if your tomatoes get blight, then cut the leaves off them. And I'm not a fan of that idea, because I think once blight has taken hold on a tomato plant, it's best to rip it out, because that blight will spread. And what I've done here is, having seen blight on one of our tomato plants, but basically seen blight on our next door neighbour's plants, I felt the remedial work I needed to do on our tomatoes was to take the leaves off, because that will reduce the surface area on which blight spores can land and proliferate. So yeah, fingers crossed. I don't expect to get any more than a couple of days out of what I've done here, so I think it is going to be green tomato curry. These need some growing yet, so they're still quite firm. It's not that they're not ripe, it's that they're still quite firm. So I think those will go into a green tomato curry rather than going on our windowsill to ripen. But yeah, what a day. And also with the planes going over, and today because of low cloud sounding so loud. I mean, look, I can see it. It's the British Airways. It's just gone through the cloud. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, the sound just sort of gets trapped down here and seems to be muffled and bounce around and be louder. But hey ho, what a funny day, what a funny day. But you know what, that's it with allotmenteering, with growing, with gardening. You know, you have to take the rough with the smooth. And I know I said this before, I know people say, you know, gardening and growing is really, really good for you. It can be. It can also be incredibly frustrating and demoralizing. And I fully understand why some people just give up. You know, I do, I totally do. But not going to do that here. Not yet anyway. Not whilst we've got mobility and a willingness to carry on. Anyway, I am going to pick some ripe tomatoes now to take home, and I'm going to leave this segment of a week at the plot here, so it will be a Monday Thursday segment because it's Thursday afternoon, and then we'll see what the rest of the week brings. I expect to be down to do some more things. The weather supposedly is going to improve, so fingers crossed, because I'd love to get the benches sorted. Right, I will see you later in the week for more segment of a week at the plot. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're growing, wherever you are, I hope things are going well, and happy growing. Bye.